For 3.5 years, the war in Ukraine has been a brutal, grinding stalemate, a story written in blood and rubble. Now, a new chapter is about to be written, not on the battlefields of the Donbas, but in the cold, clear air of Alaska. On August 15th, US President Donald Trump will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin on American soil. The stated goal, to negotiate an end to the war. The location itself is dripping with historical irony. Alaska, the land Russia sold to America in 1867. Today, it becomes the stage for a high-stakes diplomatic drama that has the world holding its breath. Is this the masterful stroke of a deal-maker, finally forcing peace where all others have failed? Or is it a dangerous gambit, a televised spectacle that risks legitimizing an international pariah and selling out an ally for a photo op? The line between a Nobel Peace Prize and a historic blunder has never been thinner. To understand how we got here, you have to understand Donald Trump's core identity, the ultimate deal-maker. He promised to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. That deadline, of course, came and went, replaced by months of public frustration. His frustration seemed to peak last month. Trump issued a stark ultimatum to Putin: agree to a ceasefire by August 8th, or face crippling secondary sanctions punishing tariffs on any country still doing business with Russia. He even made a down payment on that threat, slapping a 25% tariff hike on India for buying Russian oil. But Trump's approach has been, to put it mildly, volatile. One moment, he's threatening economic war. The next, he's praising great progress after his special envoy, real estate developer Steve Witkoff, met with Putin in Moscow. He's swung from calling Putin out for bombing civilians to now rolling out the red carpet in Alaska. It's a diplomatic style that keeps everyone, allies and adversaries alike, completely off balance. The question is whether that's a brilliant negotiating tactic or just chaotic indecision. So why is Vladimir Putin, a man who has been treated as a pariah by the West since 2022, agreeing to this meeting now? Is he finally feeling the pressure? Or does he see an opportunity? Let's be clear about what Russia wants. Leaks and past negotiations paint a stark picture of Moscow's maximalist demands. Ukraine must cede all territory Russia currently occupies, formally recognizing it as Russian land. Kyiv must agree to demilitarization, permanent neutrality, and guarantee it will never join NATO. In short, Russia wants Ukraine to surrender its sovereignty. Putin is likely using this summit for two reasons. First, it's a stalling tactic. Simply by agreeing to talk, he likely avoids, or at least delays, Trump's threatened sanctions. Second, and more importantly, it's a massive diplomatic victory. The mere image of the American president meeting him as an equal on the world stage shatters the narrative of his isolation. It also solves a practical problem for Putin. The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for him on war crimes charges, meaning he risks arrest in over 120 countries. The United States, however, is not a member of the court. Alaska is safe ground. For a man wanted for the abduction of children, a meeting with the US president is the best public relations he could possibly hope for. There is one crucial person who will not be in Alaska: Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The fate of his country is being discussed, and he isn't even at the table. This has raised alarms from Kyiv to Warsaw to Berlin, stoking fears of a 21st century Yalta, where great powers carve up spheres of influence over the heads of smaller nations. The alarm bells rang loudest when President Trump casually mentioned that a deal would involve some swapping of territories to the betterment of both. This phrase is a masterpiece of diplomatic understatement. Let's look at the reality. Russia controls nearly a fifth of Ukraine. Ukraine controls a handful of square miles of Russian land in the Kursk region. A swap under these conditions isn't a swap, it's a concession. It's asking Ukraine to formally surrender vast swathes of its land and people in exchange for a ceasefire. Some, like Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, have expressed cautious optimism, suggesting a freeze in the conflict may be close. But a freeze that cements Russia's territorial gains is exactly what Putin wants. It allows him to consolidate control, rebuild his forces, and wait for the right moment to push for more. For Ukraine, accepting such a deal would be politically devastating for Zelensky and a betrayal of the hundreds of thousands who have fought and died to defend their land. This summit isn't happening in a vacuum. Every move is being watched, from Beijing to Brussels. Putin has been bolstered by military support from Iran and North Korea. His phone call with Chinese leader Xi Jinping right after meeting Trump's envoy was no coincidence. It was a clear signal of a coordinated front. Trump's America First diplomacy is also creating friction. His tariffs on India, a key strategic partner in Asia, were designed to pressure Russia, but have also angered New Delhi, which called the move unfair and selective. European leaders, meanwhile, are distressed. They fear Trump, in his quest for a legacy-defining deal, might gang up with Putin to impose terms on Ukraine that would destabilize the entire continent. A senior European official put it bluntly, for all the bluster, Trump has not put a single iota of pressure on Putin yet. Zero, zip. The fear is that Trump sees this not as a defense of international law, but as a real estate negotiation. And in that kind of negotiation, the person most desperate to close the deal often gives up the most. The question for Europe is, what or who is Trump willing to give up? So, as the two leaders prepare to meet in Alaska, the world is left to wonder. Will we witness a historic peace agreement that ends a horrific war? Or will it be a grand farce, a reality TV summit that produces nothing but headlines and a propaganda win for the Kremlin? The most likely outcome may be the most cynical one, the formal beginning of a frozen conflict. A deal that stops the shooting but rewards aggression, leaving Russia in control of Ukrainian territory and Ukraine permanently wounded, unable to join the West and vulnerable to future attacks. It would be a peace of sorts, but a victor's peace, dictated by the aggressor. President Trump believes he can broker a deal for the betterment of both. But as the world watches the Alaskan gambit, the critical question remains, betterment for whom? The deal maker, the dictator, or the people who have lost everything? We will soon find out.